going on from that, we're going to talk about Greg Hardy's comments. Actually, since he's coming back this week, his first game since being suspended under the domestic violence charges.
Mm.
Greg Hardy, Greg Hardy, Greg Hardy, Greg.
The man said a lot of. He made some bold statements.
So Greg Hardy, for the intricate stuff of this trial, for those who don't know, Greg Hardy is his accuser at the time was accusing him of having thrown her onto his couch full of semi-automatic guns, and he in his statement to the media, he never addressed the domestic violence accusation. He never addressed it. The suspension. When they asked him about the suspension, or how he felt over the suspension, he said he merely veered it and was just and simply stated, I'm just happy to be able to come back and rush the quarterback, and that's fine. But it's like at some point you have to show some kind of remorse for what you did. And he was just like, I'm just looking to come out guns blazing. And just with the details
Mm,
of how she said he threw her onto a couch of semi-automatic guns, when you say
yeah,
I'm gonna
that's
come out guns
insensitive.
blazing, it's kind of like, bro, like word choice, man. And then he goes on because they're playing the Patriots. So we were just talking about the Cowboys and Patriots.
Nice
He
segue.
he he goes on to say that he talks about Tom Brady and how he's looking forward to bringing Tom Brady. He says he always looks forward to seeing Tom Brady on the ground. But then he goes on to talk about Tom Brady's wife, Giselle Bundchen Brady, and talking about
And
how
his sister.
she's so beautiful and everything like that. And he said he can't wait to see her at the game. Those are his favorite games, and that he hopes she brings her sister and all her friends. And it's like, man, like everybody in the NFL, like even former players, always are talking about Tom Brady's wife, and even Jerry Jones, once when he was addressing Greg Hardy's comment, said, guns blazing. Of course, he didn't mean it literally, but excuse me. He says, I hope he does come out a blazing, but guns blazing wasn't the right choice of words. And he said, as far as Tom Brady comments go, Giselle is a beautiful woman, and when Tom Brady married her, he went up 100% in my eyes. I mean, she's a very very attractive woman. So I'm just like, I mean, if that was my wife, it's just like you just sit there and you're like, bro, why are people talking about like my woman? Like it's kind of like a weird like, and everybody is like, people aren't sensitive about it. They just she's hot, she's fine. Like Bart Scott, a former linebacker for the New York Jets, a few weeks ago was questioning Tom Brady's toughness and said even Giselle doesn't think he's tough, but Giselle's hot, and it's like that's
That's
somebody's
some truth.
wife. So like, what do y'all think about Greg Hardy's comments, Jerry Jones' comments, like, and about how that people just keep seeming to just bring up like Tom Brady, his wife? Like, are people jealous of Tom Brady? Do you think there's a jealousy thing going on in the NFL with Tom Brady and the wife he's married to? Khaled, let me hear your opinion on it.
I think there is a slight bit of jealousy because she is so beautiful. A
Mhm,
lot of people will say that she's beautiful and hot all the time,
mhm,
and I think they don't see Tom Brady as very assertive and aggressive. So they feel like it's easier to make those comments because he might not be able. He won't do anything about it.
mhm,
Then Tom Brady even said, "Oh no, I'm not ticked off about the comment." You
mhm,
know, he was like that. He was gonna he was gonna they wished he gave Greg Hardy all his praises or whatever. It was like they have a good game or whatever, and they D line is great, but he never really like said, "Yo, don't talk about my girl like that," or like really got aggressive with them, telling them, "Yo, can y'all not have like these comments about my wife and her sister and her friends?" So I do think there's a slight bit of jealousy, and just stemming from the fact that Tom Brady doesn't speak out too much about the comments they made about his wife.
mhm.
But I do think they need to chill. Like they need to calm down. Like if they had a wife like that, they wouldn't want the comments like that to be flying all around, to be constantly talking about her and then y'all relationship, or her and him about him not being aggressive, and she knows it. They wouldn't like that on the other side of the what you call it.
The spectrum.
Yeah.
All right, Rashad, what do you think about it?
If you don't like it, then she need to change her career path. I mean, she's a supermodel. I mean, of course, people gonna tell you you look good if you're a supermodel. I mean, that's what you do. You look good for people. So if he gonna get mad, or I mean, granted, it don't affect him, but for Khaled to say like they need to chill out, stop saying that, then she need to stop doing what she's doing. Stop being the person she is.
But how is it that? just because somebody looks good gives you
Yeah,
the right to
she-
talk about
I mean,
talk about
they
them
say she's
publicly to the
pretty.
media.
What's wrong with saying she's pretty?
Bro, she called her hot.
Right? People when AJ McCarron's wife
Mhm.
for Alabama, not wife, his
And-
girlfriend.
And you saw what happened to that newscaster, right? The one that pointed her out in the crowd. You saw what happened to him, right? He got suspended for that. You know that, right?
But I mean, what's wrong with it?
Because you can't publicly
can't do-
talk
yeah,
about
you can't be
somebody's
doing
woman. You
that.
have to have some class, and at least in the confines of how you talk about it, you can say she's beautiful, but don't say it to the public media when there's nothing about that woman is being brought up. Every time about Tom Brady, the quarterback, talk about his football game. How you want? There's nothing wrong with you saying you want to see Tom Brady on the ground. There's nothing wrong with that because of course you want to sack him.
Mhm.
But then when you unnecessarily, nobody in the
Brings
media
up
is
the
sitting there
wife.
saying, "So what do you think about Tom Brady's wife?" Nobody is saying that. Just because she's a model, that doesn't give you the reason just to bring her up and just say she's fine. I look forward to the games that she comes to. What are you implying there? What are you
I
implying?
mean, there's nothing wrong with saying what you want to say.
No, there is some. You have to have a filter and some kind of class for
Especially in
someone.
the
That's
press
somebody's
conference.
wife. Yeah, in a press conference when she's not brought up. You're bringing her up voluntarily. She was not brought up in the conversation. You're just randomly bringing her up, and that's somebody's wife.
So it's not okay when this, but when when Tony Romo was dating these celebrities and stuff, it was okay for you to talk about them then.
It wasn't okay
When
then.
nobody ever brought it up then.
No, but people
Well, she's
didn't.
at the
People
game.
didn't sing.
Everybody
No, no, no,
pointed
no,
out at the
no, no,
game.
no. People point her out at the game. People point out celebrities at game, but nobody would sit there and say,
People did
that-
talk about her.
"No, no." But here's the difference. Let me.
Tony Romo's hot girlfriend making him not play well. What?
Here's here is. But here's the difference. People voluntarily talked about. They brought up Jessica Simpson about with in conjoinment with Tony Romo because Tony Romo started playing bad. He started dating Jessica Simpson at the same time. People are like, "Oh, could this be the source of his bad play?"
As if
But
it's
people
the rest
didn't
of it.
voluntarily say. And you gotta remember, Giselle was not a big thing in the NFL until she married Tom Brady. Jessica Simpson is a global star. So people already
They
have
already
their
knew her.
see.
They knew her.
No, they do exactly. That's my point. You can't compare a pop star to a model. I would not know anything about Giselle. She was not married to Tom Brady. So if people talk about, people already knew about Jessica Simpson and have their opinions about Jessica Simpson, and she's already put herself out there as a sex symbol in her own line of work. And you know, she's as a music star, she's gonna be out
She's
there
gonna
for
be in the
everybody to
media
see.
a lot.
Giselle is out there.
She's not a model,
Giselle, she's a model. Yes, models
Might
put
as
themselves
much
out there.
as
They
Jessica
model
Simpson.
clothing lines. But here's the thing: when people ask you about Jessica Simpson, nobody's asking about Giselle. They voluntarily say stuff about
If they
Giselle.
voluntarily
People
say
will
about
ask.
Jessica
People
Simpson,
ask
then
stuff.
wrong.
People ask stuff about Jessica Simpson. They don't ask stuff about Giselle. When people, if it's a broadcaster saying it, it's still wrong for a broadcaster. If a broadcaster saying, "Hey, is it possibly Jessica Simpson the source of his bad play?" That's a broadcaster. But when other players, your contemporaries, are saying stuff like
Are
that,
bringing it up without
It wasn't
question.
just media; it was players too.
players were not talking about
Players
Jessica
were
Simpson the
talking
way they
about
talk about Giselle. The way they talk about Giselle is like they talk about Giselle to an extent that I sometimes wonder they talk about Giselle more than they talk about actual players, the other players. When it comes to talking about the Patriots, I feel like every time there's Patriot talk or somebody talk about Tom Brady,
Tom
at this
Brady
point
and
now it's
Giselle.
either about deflated footballs, it's about Giselle, or it's about Spygate, or it's about their Super Bowl rings, or they're just excellent. 5 things, and two of those things are what's it called? Was scandals. One is his wife, and and 2 things are actual success. So and here's the thing: when it comes to Jessica Simpson, when you're losing, people are going to look at anything to try and find a source of
Justify their
if
loss.
you're losing. But when you're winning, I mean, and you just bring up his wife, and you just came off suspension, and you just bring up his wife unnecessarily, and people are looking for you to address domestic violence, your domestic violence accounts, but you can't address. I mean, you can't address
Change it
those,
to-
but you can change it up to somebody's wife unnecessarily. That's just insensitive.
But you're doing it. Y'all doing this because it's Greg Hardy.
No, we're not doing it because
No,
I just brought up Bart Scott. I just said
you
Bart
did.
Scott, and people said he was classist for saying that stuff too. If you go and watch his and hers, Jamel Hill, a female pundit on the media, says that's just classless. You don't talk about somebody's wife like that. There's a line that you don't cross. If you're talking about Tom Brady and somebody asks you, like, why do we even have to bring up this man's personal life with his wife? Who cares? He's a football player. Why does everybody care so much about his wife? We don't need to talk about his wife. His wife doesn't matter to the NFL. She's not a player. Why do we always talk about his wife? Why? Like, I don't understand it. Like, she's brought up by players all the time. Giselle.
I barely
Like-
hear anything about Giselle.
I heard stuff about this all the time. But if you pay attention to a lot of stuff the players say, I read the media stuff about a lot of what these players say about the Patriots. A lot of people say the best thing about the Patriots is Giselle. A lot of blah 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 Giselle. This is a retired player. Bart Scott is a retired player who has a comment to make about Tom Brady, his toughness, and you talk about how his woman probably thinks he's not. She knows he's not tough, but then you say, oh, but she's hot though.
People can voice their own opinions.
But I'm saying, but at the same.
Say what you want to say.
What'd you say?
Millions of dollars can make people say what they want to say.
You said millions of dollars.
Millions of dollars make people.
But then you also have to atone for those comments for being perceived as classless. But I'm saying, so you're saying it's right for people to just say stuff.
How much do people think they care about what people think about them? Honestly, in the league,
they
have their money. They have their money.
If people didn't care what people say about them, why do people care so much about what the media writes about them? If people don't care, if Kevin Durant didn't care what people said about him, but you said they got millions of dollars, right? Kevin Durant has millions of dollars, right? Okay. If people don't care about what they say about them,
care about what they say to Stephen A? No, not really.
But I'm saying, but if he didn't care, why would he care what people say about him? Why would he care? Why would he respond if he did not care? Why would they respond if they do not care? That's a public figure. Kobe Bryant, LeBron James.
LeBron's a winner. Kobe Bryant's like Jordan. Kobe Bryant plays to win. He plays for
but if it wasn't for the fact that people don't care about how they see, why do people hold press conferences after they do something wrong?
When does LeBron care?
What do you mean? After LeBron lost in the finals, he came out and publicly said, I held the villain role because I thought nobody liked me and I wanted to embrace the villain role, but that's not who I am. That's not who I want to be. That's not who I want to be seen by the public. That's what LeBron said because he cares about how people see him. If players did not care about what people see them as, why don't they just not address the media at all? Why don't they just act like playoff jerks? If Kevin Durant if Kevin Durant says, hey, I don't care what y'all have to say or I care about how y'all see me, why don't you just jerk off the media every time? Why don't you just I don't care about y'all? No, you don't get fined if you talk to them.
Yeah.
You can blow them off like Russell Westbrook does. You can blow them off like Russell Westbrook does. And you see how people perceive you in the media. Players care because that affects your brand. Mm-hmm. That affects your brand. If you just blow off the media, it affects the money for some people. Exactly. But I'm saying,
but it's not affecting anything for Greg Hardy, so he can say what to.
But what endorsements? How can you say that doesn't affect anything for Greg Hardy when the only team that was willing to sign him was the Cowboys? If people don't care about how they see you, why is it? If people don't care about public perception, why is it after Ray Rice did his thing, he was so remorseful afterwards? Mm-hmm. Why is that? If people don't care, why didn't Ray Rice? Why didn't Ray? Huh?
Because no team was going to sign Ray. You do that to get.
But why wouldn't
you get back to making your money?
But why wouldn't
you make your money?
Well, Rashad, why wouldn't anybody sign Ray Rice?
Because what he did.
And doesn't that affect public perception?
But he does what he has to do to get.
And why? So why do people say, hey, the only team that was willing to sign him was the Cowboys? Because the Cowboys are Hollywood. The Cowboys are the team seen as they bring in people and they bring in controversy. They don't care about controversy. There's certain players that you know that when you bring them in, they have media fanfare with them. There's certain players that when you sign them, you're bringing on a whole lot to bring on with them. There's a reason why Ray Rice hasn't been picked up because when you sign him, there's going to be a public perception of your team and him. They're going to associate you with that person. When Michael Vick signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Steeler fans were like, why are we bringing on a dog fighter? Public perception matters. These players care about what's said in the media. If Kevin Durant did not care about what's said in the media, why would he even address, oh, y'all gonna write what you want to write anyway? I don't know why I'm being nice to y'all, blah, blah, blah. Y'all gonna write what you want to write. If you didn't care, you wouldn't even say nothing about it. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't feel no type of way about it if you didn't care. At the end of the day, everybody cares about how somebody sees them. Like we learned in our class, you have a public self, you have your real self, you have your ideal self. And the ideal self is how you want people to see you. And nobody wants to be seen as a villain. Name me if you can go and tell me one person, even in just a jokingly type of way, that wants to be seen as a villain in their real life scenarios. Nobody. That's why Greg Hardy was joking around yesterday at the press conference, but he wasn't straight up just a jerk to the media. He was joking and was insensitive about what had happened with the domestic violence case, but he was still in a joking manner, joking with the media. Players care, and when you're talking about somebody's wife uncaringly, you have it's your constituted rights to have the freedom of speech to say what you want to say. But I'm pretty sure somebody wouldn't like it for somebody to go talk about somebody else's wife that same way. If you personally wouldn't like somebody to say something about your girlfriend to the public around your friends, like, oh yeah, she fine, bro, she fine. Now imagine how somebody else in a global picture, in a global scale, can feel when they're talking about their wife consistently. Yeah, if you want to say it in the confines of your own, but don't go to the media, a public outlet, and say it. there's
Where it hasn't
repercussions
been
for that.
brought up
Yeah,
at
when it
all.
hasn't been, the media asks you questions, and they ask you questions and anticipate you to answer on the topic of those questions. They don't anticipate you to just, hey, we're talking about cheese. Go ahead and bring up salami or something like that. Like, no, we're talking about cheese. But if we're talking about Tom Brady, there's no need to bring up his wife. We're talking about how you're going to match up against the Patriots this weekend. How does that? What does his wife fall into line with that? His wife has nothing to do with that. If I don't know where, I don't know, I don't see his wife anywhere on the football field when it comes to you rushing the passer or getting sacks. So I mean, it's just a level of class that you have to have with your comments. And it's not just Greg Hardy because of the domestic violence thing. It's him, Bart Scott. I mean, his comments are worse because it came right after the domestic violence thing, and he just got reinstated and did not address the domestic violence charges at all, and then it somehow just disappeared. Which and most people are saying that he paid her off. I Until it's confirmed, I don't ever say somebody paid somebody off. But I mean, when you say you reach a settlement and it was resolved outside of court, that's where most things allude to. But it's just when you just come off suspension, you want to hopefully show some remorse and show some kind of like, oh, I'm sorry for what I did or something like that. And he didn't show any of that. But we thank y'all for everybody that's tuning in because we're out of time. But we thank everybody for tuned in. Catch us every Tuesday and Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. We follow our KBR Sports Twitter page at KBR_sports, where you can catch our topics for each day, and you can even see links to our past shows. And you can go on YouTube and subscribe to our KBR Sports YouTube channel, where you can see our episode from today, our past episodes, and everything, and every following episode that might come up or everything for KBR Sports. But we thank for everybody for tuning in. Y'all have a great day.